What's up, heroes? It's Dan here from HeroAcademyFitness.com, and today we're going to talk about how to properly perform the bench press. Now, the bench press is one of the major compound lifts that's featured in our Invincible One program, as well as the Protege, and any other real powerlifting or bodybuilding program, for the most part. They're all going to incorporate this motion. So this is a kind of a complex movement. It's one of the ones that looks simple at the outset, but, you know, when you get into the technicalities of it, it's kind of challenging. So you want to spend some time working on this. Again, this is part of the Protege and the Invincible One. If you've never lifted before, definitely start with the Protege program, because that's going to go into the basics of how to do the lift and give you lots of practice on it versus just trying to get you to push as much weight as possible right from the get-go. So for the bench press, you want to set up your rack where the height of your J-hooks or whatever sort of securing attachment you have basically is slightly less than your arms fully extended if you're lying down. So if I were to lie down on the bench here and extend my arms fully out, see how, and notice, don't talk about your arms, not your hands. You want to stop thinking about your hands immediately with this lift. You want your arms to go slightly past where the bar is if you're lying under it with your eyeballs basically centered under the bar. But before we go any further on that, we're talking about just setup there. Before you even think about lying down, I want to talk about proper mechanics for this, okay? Because a lot of people lie down first and think about the lift afterwards. You really want to think about this before you even get under the bar. And what you want to think about first is how to create a secure platform for the weight to rest on, okay? You don't want to lie with your back fully flat against the pad, relaxed and squished against it, okay? What you want to think about doing is creating a solid base back behind your shoulders. And what we're going to do for that, I'm going to show you sitting up here because it's easy to see. You want to think about your lats right here, your big back muscles. You know, you got that big triangle taper here. Your lats are the first thing you need to think about on your bench press. It seems counterintuitive because, again, you know, bench press is a pushing motion, but the first thing you actually want to do when you're setting up is you want to pull your shoulder blades down and in. You can see I'm starting here. This is probably normal posture, right? As you're sitting, you're kind of relaxed. You want to focus on consciously squeezing those blades down and in. And if I'm thinking about it, it's almost like when you wake up in the morning, you go for like a big stretch like that, like right about here. That's the posture that you want, because that's going to turn basically your entire upper and mid back into a solid lump of muscle, if you will. So you have something solid for the weight to rest on. So again, you want to think about pulling those shoulder blades down and in, which is going to create a natural arch in your back. And you want to think about that, but you can't actually do it until you do actually lie down on the pad. But I want you to get a feel for how that feels before you even sit down. Just sit here and work on pulling those arms back and get that feeling of your shoulder blades pulling down and in. So again, you can't really lie down while doing that. You have to kind of relax and lie down. But once you lie down, all right, you want to get your eyeballs basically directly under the bar here. That way you know your shoulders are slightly lower than the bar, so that when you're actually moving the bar, you're not going to be banging into your hooks here, okay? You want to squeeze those shoulder blades down and in, and make sure you get that nice solid base, okay? You notice this is going to create the back arch I was talking about here as well. And you want to keep your butt on the pad and your shoulders on the pad and your upper back on the pad. And you want those to be really your primary points of contact, right? You're kind of creating almost a tripod here in the sense that you have two shoulder blades and your butt on the mat, all right? And then down here, your feet on the floor. You'll see some people go all the way up on their toes here like this, and depending on if you're powerlifting in competition, depending on what the federation rules are, you might be allowed to do that. Personally, I prefer to keep my feet nice and flat planted, all right? And you want to engage your legs as though you're trying to push your butt up off the pad, but you don't actually want to push the butt up off the pad. You just want to create some tension there, okay? So realistically, when you're doing this lift, the only part of your body that should not be in tension is your arms, and that's just primarily to allow them to move, okay? Again, this is a lift that looks simple from the outside, but when you're actually setting up for it and doing it properly, it's a little more complicated than you think, all right? We're doing all of this, and we haven't even actually moved or touched the barbell yet. So I'm here, I got my shoulder blades down and in, I'm squeezing those lats, I got my hands straight up in the air just for good posture here. Okay, I've got my feet planted. I'm kind of creating a little tension with my legs. You can see it's kind of pushing me back a little bit. You want everything to be pushing you back onto those shoulder blades. Now, and only now, am I going to go ahead and touch the barbell. All right, as for your hand width, you know, people have different metrics for how they want to go, but generally speaking, I like to think about where my hands come up naturally, okay? And then I go basically 1.5 hand lengths out past that, okay? You don't want to be too narrow. That's going to focus just primarily on your triceps. It's a good supplementary bench press variation, but it's not the true bench press. It's not how you're going to move the most weight possible. You want to go a little wider so that you get good pectoral engagement, okay? Your pecs or your chest muscles up here. You go ahead, you grip up on the bar, and when you grip the bar, you don't want to flex your wrists all the way back like that, okay? A lot of people get pain in their wrists when they're benching. It's because their wrists are too flat. You want to lay the bar basically across your thumb pad to the heel of your hand back here, so that realistically, it's not actually resting on your hand, it's kind of resting on the end of your forearm here, okay? So again, I roll my hands up onto the bar, I get a good grip on it, I make sure that my hands are even. A lot of bars have knurling on them, so you can very easily tell. All right, I've got my shoulder blades down and in, I focus on that, I make sure my butt's in contact with the pad, my feet are planted, and then and only then do I push the bar up and off, okay? Now from here, on the descent, we want to maintain that tension, that whole body tension we've got already. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping my elbows at basically a 45-degree angle away from my body. I don't want to let them flare out. I don't want to keep them super close. I want to keep them at like a 45-degree angle, and if you're engaging your lats properly, they will naturally gravitate towards that position. Okay, so I'm up here, I've got the lock out at the top, and as I'm bringing the bar down, I want to control that motion down, touch just below my nipples, and then back up again. Sounds kind of silly, right? Just down below the nipples, but that's really your target. You want to come down to just below your nipples and then back up again. And you'll notice the bar path is not a straight line. It's part of the reason why I got the camera over there. You can see the bar path is not coming straight down and back up again. It's going to come down on kind of a curve, down around the outside and then back up on the inside a little bit. And you're going to get sort of a egg-like motion almost there, okay? We want to control the descent as much as possible. We don't want to be speed benching this. We don't be like, dropping it down. You want to control the descent, and you want to engage all those muscles, keep the tension the whole time. And then for heavier weights, when we're looking to use leg drive to drive up out of the hole, you want to start thinking about driving with your legs right about here. And when I say drive with your legs, again, you're thinking about pushing that butt up without actually getting the butt off the pad, okay? So as I'm coming down, I'm going to think here, right about here, I'm thinking about leg drive and pushing back up again. And you can probably see the motion of the legs as I'm coming down and pushing back up, but I'm not lifting that butt up off the pad, okay? Keep the butt on the pad at all times, control the descent, and drive back up again. And that's about it. There's a lot of things to think about there, so I want you to focus on just a couple. 1, shoulder blades down and in. Squeeze that upper back muscle. 2, create a solid base before you even touch the bar. Got it? You want your feet planted. You want your butt on the pad. You want your legs tight. You want your shoulder blades down and in. You want to feel like you're solid piece of metal all the way through, and just your arms are allowed to move. And 3, don't think about resting the bar on your hands. Think about your hands are inconsequential. They're holding the bar in place, but in reality, you're putting the bar directly over your forearm so you don't get any wrist pain and you don't chance the bar rolling back or forward, okay? So that's about it. I want you to practice this a lot. If you've never used this motion before, if you look at the Protégé program, if you're a member on the website, you're going to notice that your first couple of weeks are not about moving weight, they're more about practicing technique. If you're just learning this movement, I encourage you to come down to the Discord channel or the Facebook group. I'll have links to both of those in the description down below. Post up videos of yourself. We were all beginners once. Don't be self-conscious. Everybody in the groups are happy to help you learn better, and we would much rather have you post stuff up and give us a chance to critique your form and help you get better rather than have you risk injury learning on your own at your home, okay? So that's the bench press. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. As always, remember to live boldly, change the world, and continue to be awesome. Bye-bye.